Okay, let's do it. Let me just get ready for this guide by leaving this legacy event map. Now, Kain falls into the category of a Ho-Young type class where none of their skills they get ever become useless, including all their attacks. They use everything all the time. They got a ton of movement options too, and can apply to any playstyle with their overwhelming abundance of attacks they can use, all with different systems that give additional effects depending on what uses them. Their whole kit applies extremely well to both grinding and bossing, and their damage output is consistently high across the board. If you can handle tons of buttons to fill your keyboard up with for attacks, you'll probably enjoy Kain. First job throws you right into the world of what to expect from Kain. First, all your mobility skills. A flash jump, which also lets you up jump. This dash-like skill that stealths you while moving in any cardinal direction, and can be cancelled by clicking it mid-dash on the ground, 10-second cooldown. And grappling wire. It's like rope lift. Click it to attach to a platform above you, click again to pull yourself up, or click jump to cancel. If you hold left or right and click the skill, it pulls you up at a 45-degree or so angle. You can also use skills during it while either hanging or moving up, and even click it a third time while moving to cancel it so it doesn't pull you the whole way up. There's also these two passives, one of which is massive for a first job one, 40 whole attack and 35% crit rate. What? And strike arrow, which is a nice little mobbing skill. Second job gives a couple more passives, an upgrade to Strike Arrow that adds in a second attack, a buff that boosts your attack speed, and this toggle, Dragon Fang. All it does is summon little orbs around you after attacking a certain number of times that fly out and attack nearby enemies. They attack independently several times before coming back to you, but if you change maps, they go away, and you have to re-obtain them by attacking more. Scattering Shot simply shoots a bunch of shots in an arc, dealing more damage to normal monsters, and holds up to 3 charges, each one taking 6 seconds to prepare. Lastly, Possession enhances almost every attack you get from here on out. So it takes a charge to use, and you get those charges either passively over time, or by attacking with Whisper Shot skills. Whisper Shot is Kain's weapon, and those skills are all the red ones, and also have a Possess counterpart in the skill window. To use this, just click Possession, and then one of these enhanced attacks. Possess Strike Arrow gets increased range and damage, and Possess Scattering Shot homes each shot in on enemies, targeting whichever has the most health. If it hits the same enemy more than once, it does reduce damage per subsequent hit. Third job adds another attack to Strike Arrow and gives you a fancy new attack that yanks a bunch of enemies together, and then blows up. It also has 3 charges, with each charge taking 8 seconds to prepare. The Possess version of it leaves behind a whirlwind that does damage periodically until it goes away. There's also this toggle that litters a bunch of orbs around the map when you use Possess skills. Attacking where these orbs are does damage to 1 enemy nearby each one. You're also introduced to a new type of attack. These purple ones, starting with Execute. These don't get Possess enhancements, but still do a good amount of damage and have dual purpose uses. Phantom Blade simply attacks, while Tearing Knife has a 4.5 second cooldown and can reset the cooldown of Shadow Step upon killing an enemy. Lastly, there's also a few more passives, including this pretty important one, Death's Blessing, that puts a debuff on enemies when you attack with Possess skills. This is where Execute skills come in handy. Using any Execute skills on enemies with this debuff does a whole bunch of damage and lines on said debuffed enemy, resets Shadow Step's cooldown, ignores damage reflect and weapon cancel, and gives you a small buff that increases your final damage with Execute skills. Not super useful while grinding beyond elites, but this is insanely useful for bossing. Fourth job, you know what's coming. Maple Warrior and Hero's Will. Yeah, that's right. Okay, fourth job also gives all these passives that up your damage, make you tankier, heal with Death's Blessing, and even increase your possession charges from 1 to 5. It also generates more malice so you can use said possession skills way more often. Dragon Scale is just an iframe with a 40-second cooldown that can be held up to 3.4 seconds. Why 3.4? I have no idea. Falling Dust is kind of like Ho-Young's Iron Fangale, sending you up into the air and attacking below you. It holds up to 2 charges, one built up every 10 seconds, and its Possess counterpart does an additional big shockwave attack. Lastly, the Execute skills. Chain Sickle just swings in front of you dealing damage, and can also reset Shadow Step upon defeating enemies, 7-second cooldown, and Poison Needle attacks around you. You can air stall for a half second or so if used in the air, 15-second cooldown, and it also resets Shadow Step upon defeated enemies. For hyper skills, Kain is unique in that they technically get 4. The first being Chasing Shot, which flies out and chases down enemies to attack them, 25-second cooldown. The second, Incarnation, lets your party activate your Death's Blessing for 40 seconds, 3-minute cooldown. The third, Unseen Sniper, is a hold down skill that makes a big beam shape forward, and then attacks all enemies caught within it. It holds up to 1 charge and charges every 40 seconds. So yeah, 40-second cooldown. Lastly, the 4th is both a possess and execute version of Unseen Sniper. Same gist, hold down and it makes a big beam shape, does damage, but now it also does more damage and synergizes with all possess and execute skills. 1 minute cooldown. Since Unseen Sniper and the enhanced version have independent cooldowns, that means you can use the normal Unseen Sniper and immediately follow that up with the possessed version right after, or vice versa. For hyper passives, the ones you'll absolutely want are everything for Whisper Shot, Guard Break, Reinforce, and Boss Rush. If you have a high enough amount of IED you're comfortable with, you could ditch Guard Break in favor of something else. You'll also absolutely want Execute Reinforce and Lasting Grudge Reinforce, as both of those you'll be having out and using pretty constantly. Less so Execute if you're grinding more, but it's still not bad to have in general. Your other options for your last point, if you passed up Guard Break, would be either Execute Enhance, which gives you super stance during Death's Blessing final damage buff, or Dragon Scale Efficiency for a little bit of healing during your iframe. 5th job is an interesting little beast. I know I've made a few parallels to Ho-Young already, but hear me out. Thanatos Descent is literally almost identical to Ho-Young's Wrath of Gods. You click it once, and you generate a lot more malice over time and with attacks, deal extra damage and attacks periodically every 3 seconds, and click it again before it ends to put yourself in an iframe, attacking up to 15 enemies on screen 15 times. 3 minute cooldown. It's literally just Wrath of Gods. Comparison aside, this is a great burst skill, just so long as you remember to click it a second time before the duration ends. Grip of Agony gives a passive called Death Throws that stacks up to 5 times by attacking enemies or bosses. When activated, it consumes all the Death Throws to summon this thing called Hand of Agony that deals a ton of damage to all enemies within its AoE. This hand lasts for 5 seconds, and its duration increases per extra Death Throw consumed, lasting up to 10 seconds. 90-second cooldown. Dragon Burst is a straight up possess skill that doesn't need possess in order to be used. Hold it down up to 5 seconds to shoot a massive constant beam for 5 whole seconds. You can even move around while using it with a slight delay of 0.5 seconds in between changing beam directions. 90-second cooldown. Execute Fatal Blitz is a bursty skill, attacking in front of you multiple times, dealing a bunch of damage, and as you've come to expect of all execute skills, even resetting the cooldown of Shadow Step. 90-second cooldown. For other useful nodes Kain gets, let's get the Nova ones out of the way first. Grandest Goddess's Blessing gains 1 charge every 4 minutes, holds up to 2 charges, and gives you both extra damage and a high chance to skip cooldowns up to 3 times per cooldown skill. Might of the Nova deals a small chunk of damage above you and gives you an extra life for at least 10 minutes at level 1, going up to 16 minutes at max level. 20-minute cooldown. Now on to shared archer skills. Vicious Shot converts all your critical rate to critical damage and lets you exceed the cap of 100% crit rate, 2-minute cooldown. And lastly, one of the coolest shared nodes, probably my favorite in the whole game, Guided Arrow. It's a toggle that never goes away until you turn it off and flies out at enemies as you attack, dealing more damage to normal enemies. Amazing little skill, I love it so much. To make Kain easier to play, we first have to get one thing established. Kain in general is a charge-heavy class, meaning they don't use cooldown skip or a cooldown hat, as those do little to nothing for most of your kit. Any classes with skills that hold charges never benefit from any of those things. I believe CD skip and CD reduction hats do apply to your execute skills, but you won't be wanting to spam them much until you build up Death's Blessing stacks on a boss. That, and in grinding, cycling them around for tons of extra mobility via extra resets of Shadow Step. Also in bosses that have weaker mobs you can attack, like Hela. You should also cycle around your execute skills in bosses, remembering to weave them in after using possess skills. For grinding, don't be afraid to use your cooldown skills, since they still hit a lot of enemies and your whole kit is good enough in general for when elites show up. A whole bunch of them even do more damage to normal enemies to encourage using them while grinding. Maybe save 1 or 2 of them to clear them out if you're super worried about it, but you can safely decimate everything that comes towards you. For bossing, Incarnation is really good in parties, but also useful in solo play, giving extra damage and attack, and increasing Death's Blessing attack effects slightly. Also for bosses in general, you'll mainly want to use Possess Strike Arrow and build up Death's Blessing stacks on the boss, then eat up those stacks by popping your execute skills. Ideally the ones with cooldowns first for more damage, though save Fatal Blitz for your bigger burst. Try to also remember while you can stealth with Shadow Step, it's not a teleport, meaning it can't get past things like Part 1 Lotus lasers, but it can avoid things like Lotus's Part 2 falling debris or Magnus's projectiles. But you can, however, use your Dragon Scale iframe, since its cooldown is relatively short at 40 seconds. You also get another iframe on the second use of Thanatos Descent, if you needed more survivability in a pinch. Inner ability is pretty straightforward. If you plan on bossing, for the first line you'll either want boss damage or +1 passives, which you'll ideally want to use alongside decent combat orders. Each one of these passive levels boosts nearly everything stat-wise in your 4th job, especially the final damage from Whisper Shot Mastery, which is the main big reason why you get this. The 2nd and 3rd lines can be any mix of boss, if you didn't get it for the 1st line, crit rate, flat attack, or abnormal status damage. For grinding, it's the same as above, minus the passives or boss damage obviously, with the addition of Mesa or drop rate lines in any of the slots too. Normal enemy damage if you really needed more damage, but chances are you're going to be one-shotting all mobs you encounter at a certain point, so that's less of a priority. For Link skills, you'll want to prioritize the typical trifecta for grinding, of Evan, Mercedes, Oran, and Lara 2 if you wanted more normal enemy damage, and fill in the gaps with damage boosting links such as Kana, Demon Avenger, Cygnus Blessing, etc. For bossing, more damage dealing everythings, something along the lines of this. You could also swap out or supplement some of these with crit rate links instead, if you wanted to boost Vicious Shot, and as always resistance link for more survivability, but overall yeah, just focus on the ones that boost your damage, as usual. Kain's Trinodes are so insultingly easy because they only have 8 to choose from. Pretty much you'll want everything, but in terms of perfects, or which ones to focus on getting first, the first would be Strike Arrow, Dragon Fang, and Death's Blessing. Each of these also enhance Chasing Shot, Lasting Grudge, and Unseen Sniper respectively. Since this one enhances both your toggles passives, and you'll be regularly using the skills in there for both grinding and bossing, focus on getting this one first. The second that's still very useful for grinding is Scattering Shot, Shaft Break, and Falling Dust. Surprisingly, this one doesn't enhance other skills at all. The last one with only 2 skills on it is Phantom Blade and Chain Sickle, which also enhance Tearing Knife and Poison Needle respectively. This one is geared towards bossing and covers all your pre-5th job execute skills. You could also slant perfect any mix of all of these if you have the node slots too. Only takes up 6 total slots with 1 overflow skill. There's no bad nodes for Kain. You'll be using all your skills in your kit. It just depends on which skills you'll be using more to determine which to focus getting first. For burst/BA, obviously make sure you have toggles on and pop your longer buffs without cooldowns. Then, pop your shorter buffs with cooldowns, and things like Vicious Shot and Grandest Goddess's Blessing, alongside Thanatos Descent. Then use Grip of Agony once that's at 5 stacks, and pop AB Link if you have that on. Now here's where it gets a little tricky. Hold down Dragon Burst, click Possession while still holding down Dragon Burst, and once it's finished casting, hold down and use the possessed version of Unseen Sniper. Follow that up with a normal Unseen Sniper, Fatal Blitz, and use Thanatos Descent again for the big burst of damage. Shorten down. Buffs, cooldown buffs, Thanatos Descent, Grip of Agony at 5 stacks, AB Link, hold Dragon Burst, click Possession while still holding Dragon Burst, Possessed Unseen Sniper, Normal Unseen Sniper, Fatal Blitz, Thanatos Descent a second time. Kain's burst relies mainly on the big evil looking beams you shoot out, being used right after buffing up everything, and also popping all your 5th job skills. The Kain Google Doc also specifies you can use Incarnation and the first click of Thanatos Descent earlier to maximize your DPS, so I guess that's worth mentioning too. Kain is a class that came and went on its release, and I haven't heard much about ever since, nor really saw anyone play them. Myself included admittedly. I made one on launch for the NX outfit, and to try them out. Going back to them though, I'm shocked at how much they have in common with Ho-Young. It's really cool, and I'm a sucker for classes that use their entire kit all the way to max level. I hope this guide was helpful, thank you for watching, and thanks to the Kain Discord for existing and having clean, straightforward resources for this class. They sectioned off what most new Kain players would want to know immediately, and briefly go over the details in a quick, satisfying manner. My kind of server, honestly. Just presenting the info you want to know right there. If there's other class guides you want to see me cover next, give me some suggestions in the comments. If you want to see more class guides for other classes you're curious about, why not subscribe? I'm having fun doing guides per class depending on what y'all suggest to me. Kain was really fun to come back to and relearn, so thanks for that. That's all.